Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to World of Tanks here, doing the review of the Jagdpanzer IV, or Das Jagdpanzer IV, which is a Tier 6 non-premium German tank destroyer. So, this Tier 6 tank destroyer is what the Stug leads to. Yeah, it comes from the Stug. And people don't particularly like the Jagdpanzer that much. However, I quite like it. It's a decent enough tank destroyer. As you can see, I fitted my camouflage here. Don't have a 100% crew. Haven't yet researched the Jagdpanther, but well, 60,000 XP, 60,500. And I've researched everything else. I just need to get to this thing. But 60,000 XP. I look at the Jagdpanzer and then I think. I don't want to have to grind through 60,000 XP to get to Das Jagdpanther. But I will have to. But until then, this will be the current setup for it. I will most likely have a 100% crew. I don't know if... No, it's gone back. It used to be... there used to be a special on. Just before I recorded this, like a week or so ago, maybe, where retraining a crew was 100 gold, and I got a whole load of crew up to 100% for that, and put some camos on because they were 50% off as well on a couple of tier 5 tanks I got recently, the Archer and the G1R, but I forgot about the crew of Das Jagdpanther. I don't have enough gold, but anyway. So, Das Jagdpanther, let's first look at the health. It is 600 HP, which out of the Tier 6 tank destroyers is not as much as either of the British tank destroyers. Churchill gun carrier 650, and the 88, I think it is. Let's have a look. Britain. The 88 here has got 800 vehicle details. 800 HP. Yeah. So, it's not as much as the gun carrier or the 88, but the British tank destroyers on this line have always been the most health out of all of the tank destroyers. As for the Achilles, I think that's like that's like 610 health. Wow. With the upgraded turret, like 650 maybe. For the Achilles, which is a decent enough HP for a tank destroyer. ARL V39, that's 610 health. Then you've got the Americans with the Hellcat, which is, I think, fully upgraded. It is fully upgraded. That's like 670, around the same for the Jackson, 680 maybe. Don't have any other tank destroyers there from America. Then let's quickly look at Russia. SU-100 is 580. Box tank is 700, which is a decent amount of health for a Tier 6 tank destroyer. But yeah, so just a quick look at some of the other German tank destroyers here, such as the Nashorn. You've got 600 HP for the Nashorn. Stickermax is 550, I think it is. Yeah, 550. So the Germans have got the most fragile tank destroyers in relation to health here. However, the armor of it is what people don't particularly like about it, because coming from the Hetzer's got very good armor at its tier, at tier 4. Stug, not really big on the armor, but it's very mobile and things. And then coming to the Jagdpanther, people just thought, oh, Das Jagdpanther's got sloping front. Should be decent enough, but it's only 80 millimeters at the front, 40 at the side, 22 at the rear. You can bounce shots from things like the gun mantlet, and also if you are angling at a particular angle, say you were coming over a hill and they were aiming sort of at this angle, then that would definitely be a bounce, and perhaps if you're angling here, then they would bounce off the front. But going frontally on, people are just going to penetrate straight through the angled front, because yeah, that's a decent enough angle, but 80 millimeters, I mean, there are many things at tier 6 and above that have got enough penetration to actually get through the frontal armor of Das Jagdpanther. So yeah, the armor's nothing particularly much. However, as for the mobility, it is very mobile. 24.4 tons load limit. Well, sorry, with everything without consumables or without equipment even. 24.4 tons using the 75mm here. I don't want to use the 88 because I think it's a worse gun than the 75, I think, but yeah, that's up to you to decide. But it does have a 26.8 load limit with the upgraded suspension. 440 top engine, which means that you've got an 18 specific horsepower per ton ratio, which is decent enough. You'll go up hills fairly quickly. 40 kilometers per hour top speed, with 12 reversing, which is very nice. With the upgraded tracks, 35 degrees per second reverse speed, which is, I found it's not that bad. I've done in the first no, in the second replay that I have for this, for the review, because I do have two, in the second replay of the review of the gameplay of this tank, I do keep up with a Cromwell. I dogfight a Cromwell, and, well, I was actually able to turn with that Cromwell decently enough, so it's not particularly immobile. It's a very decently mobile tank, and also 27.8 camo rating. It's very, very stealthy. If you look at this compared to, say, the gun carrier, that's not particularly stealthy. Look at that. That's a massive Churchill. This is a short, small Jagdpanzer. If we look at the Cromwell here, that's also pretty big. The Firefly as well. So compared to all of these tanks, it's really very hidden. Box tank, don't know why I'm even looking at that, but even this thing, the Type 64, which is a light tank, has got 18.3 camo value. Jagdpanzer 27.8. It's really, really very hidden. So it's a very mobile and a very, very stealthy tank destroyer, which is a pretty good combination, because you can get to places that they wouldn't expect a tank destroyer to get to, and you can light them up, blaze away at them with your very decent camouflage, and they just won't have any idea where you're from, where you're shooting them from. So it's very stealthy, very mobile, which is nice. 323 meters view range with a top radio range of 415. Obviously, don't have 100% commander, don't have 100% radio operator, because they're both the same thing. But it would be around 330 meters. What's that? 440, I think that is. Minus 27. So if we add 27 to that, then it's about 340, 350 meters view range, with the top radio, 415 signal range. So the tank destroyers got a nerf to their view range a while ago. Now, actually, it would have been. I think that was one of the things. The tank destroyers got a nerf to their view range, and the radio range is a actually characteristically un-German radio. I've always found that the Germans in World of Tanks have the best radios and the best radio range, to span the entirety of France and half of Russia and basically the entirety of Europe. And I've always found that they have very good radios. However, this time the Germans are losing out with their 450 meter signal range, which isn't really that good. However, as for the firepower now, so this is the gun that I'm going with. It's the 75mm PaK 42 L70, and you'll have unlocked this from the Stug. It is the top gun on the Stug. If we just have a look at the stock gun here, the stock 75 PaK 39 L48, 75mm, 18.7 rounds per minute rate of fire, 110 penetration, 110 average damage, 0.37 dispersion, 1.7 second aiming time. 158 pen with APCR, 110 average damage with that APCR, and then you've got your high explosive, but then it's high explosive, what do you expect? So the penetration is not very good at all. That's like tier 4, well actually no, that's more sort of low-end tier 5 penetration on a tier 6 tank destroyer. However, you will never need to research that gun, because if we have a look back here at Das Stug, here is the top gun. You don't need to research this gun to get to Das Jagdpanther. However, I would suggest researching this gun first from Das Stug, because using this gun on Das Stug is alright. However, 150 penetration with this gun really is going to be very beneficial to your Stug. However, when you actually mount this gun to this tank, you only carry 35 rounds, which means that many people find that they run out of 75 ammunition for this gun because they just don't carry around enough ammo. You carry around a lot more in this tank. But as for things that carry over from the Stug to das Jagdpanzer, that's actually quite a lot of things. This gun carries over, this gun carries over from the Stug. This radio carries over from the Stug, and this engine also carries over from the Stug. As you can see, there you go, the Stug 3 Alpha G. So all these things carry over. So that means all you need to research are the tracks, and you'll be good to go for the Jagdpanther, which means that there isn't actually that much of a grind like there would be for the Stug, because if you have a look from the Hetzer to the Stug, what carries over? Basically nothing. The radio possibly, I'm not too sure though. Hummel Tiger. No, I don't think that's the Fug 7. No, the Fug 7 doesn't carry over. This gun carries over, but that's about it. These things you have to research because the Hetzer is based off of a Czechoslovakian tank. Well, you'll know it as the Panzer 38 NA. That's what you'll know it as because that is the chassis, which means that it uses all of the Czechoslovakian engines, and this is a different radio. The 105 also carries over to the Stug, but not to the Jagdpanther, which means that this thing carries over to the Jagdpanther, or the Stug even. There you go, Stug Alpha G. Stock gun on the Jagdpanther. But yeah, nothing carries over for the Stug, which means the Stug you'll have to A, grind to it, then grind the 31,000 XP that you need to get to the Jagdpanther. However, once you get to the Jagdpanther, the grind is non-existent. All you have to do, research this thing, which I did just because you don't really want to research it when you're trying to get through your Jagdpanther. But yeah, so it'll be a relatively easy grind. So you don't have to worry about that, which means that you can just mount this gun instantly. I think I was able to mount this gun. I didn't even use the stock gun because the stock suspension can actually mount this gun on it. So you don't have to worry about that. So just mount this gun and you'll carry around 62 rounds, which is a lot more than the Stug. People will be very happy to know that you carry around 62 rounds instead of 35, which means that you can carry around APCR if you wish, which you couldn't really on the Stug, otherwise you'd run out and keep using it accidentally because it's the only ammo type you have left. But anyway, moving to the guns that you can use, so you've got the stock gun, which isn't very good, but you'll never use it because you have this thing. Let's first go over the 88, which you have to research, which is 9,500 XP. It's 88mm, which means it has got a slower rate of fire, 11.1 rounds per minute. It has slightly less penetration, 145. 171 with APCR, 44 with high explosive. However, it does have better damage than the 75, which I'll go over in a minute, which is 220 average damage, 270 with high explosive, 0.35 dispersion, which is actually decent enough, and 1.7 second aiming time. It's not the most accurate thing, but it's not the most inaccurate thing, and it does have a very good aiming time. With the buff that it received in actually 9.15 I think it was, which came along with the buff to the Heavy Tank number 6's gun and the Skoda's gun, which meant that instead of 132 penetration, which is what these guns used to have, the 88 Pack L56, the Kampfwagenkanon 36 L56 on the Heavy Tank number 6 and the Skoda, means that instead of 132 pen, you have now got 145, which is actually a much needed increase in penetration, which is going to make very many people very happy. I was very happy to hear this, which means that this gun is more of a viable option than it otherwise is if you're going to use the 75mm, but it's up to you whether you want 5mm less penetration but for a lot more alpha damage, or whether you want a slightly increase in penetration, slightly less, well, a lot less average damage, but much more accurate gun with a slightly higher rate of fire. And this is the gun that I'm using, the 75 Pack L70. 75mm, so higher rate of fire, 15.8 rounds per minute, 150 average penetration, 194 with APCR, 135 damage across the board, very accurate, 0.33 and 1.7 second aiming time. This is the classic sniper gun, because this penetration, although not being particularly good at tier 6 and tier 8s, with this accuracy you can comfortably aim for weak spots, and you can just chip away at their health with your gun. which is a very nice thing to have. This is the gun that I use, but it's whether you want more alpha damage, lower rate of fire, or higher rate of fire but lower alpha damage but more accuracy, which is the choice that you have to make. Which one you want to sacrifice. Um, Even with a 82% crew, sorry, and without improved vents, without gun rammer, without 100% crew, this still reloads in 4 seconds. With those things, um, with these things, then you will definitely get this rate of fire down further, which will be very nice. I'm just waiting for that. But yeah, this thing, unless you have 100% crew, the stuff isn't particularly reliable. You still have to go to here just to see what the stats will actually be. You know, what the actual dispersion and what the actual aiming time is. But -6 gun depression and +14 gun elevation, which is decent enough. Not particularly that much down, but you could see why. It's not that much because there is this flat slope here. Or well, there is this flat surface before you can actually aim it down further. 12 degrees either side gun arc, which, well, looking at the Churchill gun carrier, that's 5. Looking at box tank, which is 10. It's decent enough to traverse gun traverse limits. Let's look at one other tank destroyer, which I know has got very good gun arc. This thing, that's 22. But the gun arc for the Jagdpanzer is not that big of a deal because you can comfortably traverse yourself very quickly and you can aim back to how it was before you even need to worry about whether you're going to hit the target. The gun arc really is negligible with this gun because the fantastic aim time and accuracy means that you don't really have to worry, and the traverse speed means that you can easily just traverse yourself very quickly and then aim back up to keep hitting them. So, yeah, that's going over the basic stats here. Then you've got your standard consumables. Then you've got your equipment. So, Camonet, definitely. You're a very stealthy tank destroyer. Camonet definitely going to be very beneficial to you. Improve vents, yeah, definitely. Get that reload time down. You can chip away at the enemy's health very quickly. Get a lot of damage done in a very short amount of time. Which is definitely what you'll want on a tank destroyer. So, yep, definitely improve vents. Ammo rack, in case your ammo rack keeps getting damaged. I think there's better things on this list that you can use instead of that, but hey-ho, it's up to you. Enhanced levers, suspension load capacity, and suspension durability. The durability will probably help, because you don't really want your tracks getting blown off. But you probably won't need that extra load capacity that they give, because you do have a lot of lever room with this 26.8 tons load limit, so you can fit whatever you want, and you will be nowhere near the maximum load limit. So it's up to you, really. I would say probably not. Spore liner, again, definitely not. Your armor's not particularly that good. It's not really going to save you, so I would say not. Don't bother fitting the medium spore liner. Tank gun rammer, definitely. Definitely going to want this on this gun. You'll want, chipping away at the enemy's health. Additional grousers. I don't know whether this is limited to tank destroyers or not. I thought it was limited to Germans, but then I realised that the Su-85I can also fit them, but then again it is a Panzer III chassis that it's based on, so it could still be a German thing, but I'm not too sure. But plus 10 to performance on soft ground, plus 5 to moderately soft ground is probably going to benefit you. You are a very mobile tank destroyer, you want to keep that mobility wherever you are, so yeah, not a particularly bad idea to fit one of them. Binos, again, if you're using Camonet, definitely go with the bino telescopes. Same with coated optics, get that view range up, definitely going to be very helpful. Enhanced gun lane drive, you don't need it on either of the guns. 1.7 second aiming time is very good, so you don't need that. In case your fuel tanks keep getting ruptured and you keep getting set on fire, then you could go with that, but once again, more beneficial things on this list to you. And Toolbox, if you want, it's always a very useful piece of equipment to fit if you can't think of anything else. I like fitting them. But it does have a crew of 4 in your Jagdpanzer. You have got or Jagdpanzer even. You have got the commander / radio operator. So I'm thinking what you probably want is signal boosting first, then situational awareness if you want, because both those are very useful. Call for vengeance if you want, and relay only get that after you've done signal boosting. Um, Sixth Sense always useful, definitely going to be very useful on this tank destroyer because your health pool is in the low end of tier 6 tank destroyers. It's very low actually, really. The only things that lose out to it are turreted tank destroyers because otherwise they'd be OP. But yeah, Sixth Sense you'll probably want. Eagle Eye you'll also probably want if you combine it with the gunner skill, the Deadeye skill, then Eagle Eye, Deadeye always like going together. So yeah, if you want Jack of all trades, you could do, but I think there's more beneficial perks and skills for you to use other than Jack of all trades. Recon always useful. Get that view range up, and Mentor I don't see the point in. Then you've got your common skills. I would say go with camo or concealment as they've renamed it in your common skills. Concealment definitely. You are very stealthy tank destroyer. I would say definitely go with concealment here. So for your gunner, I would say Deadeye definitely, especially with the 75, getting all of them critical damage, damaging all them modules and crew. Very rapid fire, 75mm. Yeah, I would say definitely Deadeye. Snapshot, you don't really have a turret, but it doesn't really matter because 1.7 second aim time is very good, so you don't really need snapshot on there. Armor in case your gun keeps getting damaged. Then designate target. Yeah, you could go at designate target. Really, that may be the blind shot that wins the game. You never know. So yeah, sure, designate target. Then once again, your common skills, camo. You'll want to get that. Then you've got your driver. I would say probably go with clutch braking and off-road driving. It's up to you which way around you put those, but I would say definitely go with those two first. Because you're a very mobile tank destroyer, anything to keep or improve that mobility, definitely go with it. So either clutch braking or off-road driving, either one is up to you. Smooth ride, you could fire on the move, you do have the accuracy for it, but I would say probably nah, just hide around, camp, be a proper tank destroyer, get that camo net up and binocular telescopes and just wreck entire teams with it. Preventive maintenance, it keeps you in case you keep getting set on fire. Controlled impact, I would say probably no. Don't go with controlled impact. You do have the speed that you can get up to ram things, but you don't really have the armor to do it. Then you've got your common skills once again. Concealment. Then finally you've got your loader. So your loader, safe storage in case your ammo rack keeps getting damaged. Adrenaline rush you could do. You'll be on 60 HP, but sure, adrenaline rush if you want. And intuition, because I can see people carrying around APCR to get through those heavily armored Japanese OIs and various other heavily armored Japanese heavy tanks that they introduce. Because who needs balance when we've got Japanese super heavies? Yeah. So yeah, I can see carrying around APCR for this thing. So yeah, sure, go with intuition if you want. I wouldn't blame you. Then you've got your common skills once again, camo. So that is the basics of the Jagdpanzer. The replays I have, one of them is before I actually fitted camo, I think. Oh no, one of them was before I got a winter camo because I ran out of gold to actually fit the winter camo on it. So I instead went with my ambush camo and I went with my what's this, 3-tone field camo. So I went with both those and just didn't bother with that. But now I have it. But yeah, the second replay I don't have a camo on because I didn't have it at that point. And the first one I do. And I think those were with 75% crew. So yeah, I think it's a very stealthy, very mobile, with a very damaging gun, but very fragile. But I would say not as bad as you might think. You may have been led to believe, or you may have jumped on the bandwagon and just said, yeah, Jagdpanzer IV, crap, terrible tank destroyer. But you've probably never played it. But I think I like my Jagdpanzer. My Jagdpanzer is a good tank destroyer. I think it's very good. And although I don't really want, I'm just even thinking of just 60,000 XP for the grind. I'm already thinking, ugh. But to be honest, it won't be that bad in this. It just means a lot of games. But in this tank, not particularly that much of a bad thing. It's not a bad tank destroyer. I like it. But yeah, so the Jagdpanzer IV. I will thank you for watching and goodbye.